Hello everyone, glad to be back. Today is 4th of May, now it's 1 o'clock, middle of the day by Moscow time. I'm Levan Gudadze and this is my first video for today, in which I will share all the latest news that are making headlines in Russian media outlets and the Russian language pages on different internet platforms. Second update, as always, will be on my Patreon page a little bit late in the afternoon. That's been said, let's talk about news now, and I will start with reports on RIA Novosti news agency. We have statement from Dmitry Peskov, press speaker of Russian president, according to which Moscow don't really believes that this drone strike on Kremlin was conducted without Kiev's involvement, and even more than that. According to Peskov, statements from Kiev and Washington that they are not involved in this terror attack is laughable. Everyone knows that almost all the operations of Ukrainian regime, Kiev regime, is planned by Washington, masters of Zelensky's regime. Well, to summarize, we can say that Kremlin is blaming USA for a terror strike on Kremlin. After these kind of statements, one may expect a declaration of war, because statement is, really strong, isn't it? But of course, no one will declare war on nobody, and my prediction from yesterday, when I said that Moscow will not really react on this terror strike in a strong way, is proving to be correct. For now, at least, for this moment, there was no retaliatory strikes, just statements of different level of Russian officials, and maybe nothing will happen really, just the statements here and there, and that's it really. At least that's how I see this picture. In weeks time, or in 2 weeks time, or maybe even tomorrow, Moscow may strike its ordinary missile strikes against military infrastructure of Zelensky's regime, or logistical infrastructure, and Russian media will call it a revenge strike. But in reality, even though Zelensky's regime is targeting decision-making centers of Russia, Russia will probably not retaliate in the same way, and nothing will happen to Zelensky, nothing will happen to any other member of political or military leadership of Ukraine. I may be wrong, but at least for this moment, that's my take on it. I don't know it's good or bad. It's not necessarily clear for now, and we should always keep in mind that we only have some amount of information from open sources, and government officials, high-ranking government officials, have much more information, and their decision-making process is based on different knowledge that we have. But anyway, I did share with you my take on it, and let's see what will happen. But when it comes to statements, yes, we did hear quite strong statements about yesterday's drone attacks on Kremlin. Let me continue. We had statements from Zelensky also, and the Ukrainian officials. They denied involvement in a terror attack, and as you know, Zelensky was in Finland yesterday, and after that he was transferred, let me use this word, to Netherlands. He is in Holland right now, and according to some news, he is planning to give speech in Hague's criminal court. Well, Zelensky will probably stay in Europe for a day or two, But as I said, I don't believe that he's in danger from Russian side. Washington may and probably will take him out at some point in near future, but not Moscow. Not Moscow. So he will run around Europe for a day or two, and then he will go back to Kiev and act as a president of Ukraine, like usual. And yet again, as I said, many strong statements from Russian side. This is TASS News Agency's report about statements that Russian ambassador in U.S. Anatoly Antonov made. According to him, Russian side will definitely retaliate on a strike terror attack on Kremlin, but in time of its choosing. So Moscow will react, but when Moscow will find it suitable for himself. So yes, I mean, how are you gonna comment this? I mean, it is what it is. And we have also statements from Medvedev. He went a little bit further than the Russian ambassador in US. He said that after attack on Kremlin, Russia don't really have options other than target and eliminate Zelensky and his henchmen. Well, Dmitry Medvedev, former Russian president and the current deputy chairman of Russian Security Council, is quite famous, or he's become quite famous with strong statements lately, and probably all of us did expect something like this from Medvedev, but usually after Medvedev's statements, nothing is happening. He's just making, strong statements, and that's it, really. So I don't think anything will happen to Zelensky or his henchmen. And yes, Medvedev may thinks that it's appropriate now to conduct strikes against, excuse me, against criminal and Nazi leadership of and terrorist leadership of Ukraine, but well, time will tell what will happen. I have my doubts about it, that Russia will strike Zelensky or anybody from high-ranking officials of Ukraine. And this is RT's report. This time, statement from Prigozhin, according to which Russian side did manage to move forward in this western corner of Bakhmut about 200 meters. And Prigozhin said that announced counteroffensive of Zelensky's regime has already begun, or we may say it will begin in coming days. Well, Prigozhin, what he meant was that air force of Zelensky's regime is quite active. Artillery, Ukrainian artillery on the front line is quite active. There are drone strikes on almost daily basis, and probably Prigozhin meant that we are now seeing first steps of preparation before main sequence, main counteroffensive, main operation will begin. Well, quite logical stuff. We can probably see this picture exactly the same way, like Prigozhin is saying, but counteroffensive, word counteroffensive or large-scale counteroffensive, this sentence is, for me, it's unbelievable, because I don't think Zelensky's regime will conduct any large-scale counteroffensive whatsoever. There will be some local-scale offensive operations here and there, but nothing in a ground level. Let me open map and let's check together situation on front line from this pro-Ukrainian map. It's the usual stuff. Kherson direction, artillery duels, Zaporozhye direction, artillery duels, Donetsk direction, artillery duels and close range combat, especially in Marinka and Avdiivka direction, and of course Bakhmut is still hot point. On this map we don't really see any changes for last, let's say, few days really. Even though Russian side is almost on daily basis are reporting that PMC Wagner units did manage to move forward 100, 150, 200 or even more meters on a daily basis, and it's significant because of area that are still under control of Zelensky's regime. They only holding for just a few square kilometers in the western part of Bakhmut. And that's why these numbers, 100, 200, 300 meters, do make huge difference on the situation on the ground. But yet again, as I said many times before, this battle for Bakhmut, Russian side did won. And it's only now we are seeing formalization of this victory. So, it will take maybe, I don't know, let's say a week or maybe 2 weeks, who knows, man. But eventually, of course, Bakhmut will be under full Russian control. Yesterday, we had information that Zelensky's regime did conduct some recon operation from Orekhov. This is Orekhov, by the way, and according to Russian media reports, Russian side did manage to repeal offensive operations of Ukrainian forces during this recon operation. But yet again, we are now entering point in this conflict when we should take any information from any side with pinch of salt. Because during this time when we are almost entire world is waiting for this counteroffensive of Zelensky's regime. During this time, both sides will probably try to minimize its losses and maximize losses of enemies. So to find out what is really happening on the front line will be quite difficult. But eventually, even though I don't believe that Zelensky's regime will be able to pull off large-scale counteroffensive to cut that land bridge between Crimea and mainland Russia, of course they will have enough resources to conduct local-scale offensive operations from Orekhov, from Gulyai-Pole, maybe even from Ugledar, and definitely from Kherson region. And when I'm talking about Kherson, it's not just right bank directly next to Kherson, but also Novaya Kakhovka. And when it comes to Zaporozhye, it's of course Energodar and Zaporozhye nuclear power plant. We will probably see some marine operation, some amphibious operation from Zelensky's regime. They will probably try to establish control over the Energodar and Zaporozhye nuclear power plant. But yet again, all this stuff will be local scale. We're not going to see any large scale of counteroffensive of Ukraine, and even local scale operations will fail. I'm quite sure about it. So let's see. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. So it will only take a couple of weeks, and we will probably learn much more about this so-called counteroffensive of Ukraine. We have RIA Novostis report, according to which during the previous night there were some drone strikes, as I understand, in Kiev and Odessa. I did share on my Telegram channel some video footage of drone strikes, results of drone strikes. But yet again, this is happening almost on daily basis, especially when it comes to drone strikes. So it's hard to tell how significant or insignificant damage was done to Zelensky's regime. Let me continue. This is quite interesting. TASS news agency is reporting, and this news is from yesterday afternoon, but news is interesting and I decided to share with you. Yesterday, we had reports that Russian FSB, Russian Security Service, did manage to take down Ukrainian terrorists that were planning to conduct a terror attack against leadership of Crimea. They were planning to kill leadership of Crimea. So fortunately, Russian security services did work effectively, and at least this group of terrorists was neutralized. Next news is about drones in Moscow and Moscow region, and governments of these two regions. Moscow is a region itself inside Russia, has a region status, and Moscow region also. So governments of these two regions make decision to ban all drone flights without special permission from authorities. Well, after yesterday's strike on Kremlin, this kind of measure is quite logical, really. You know, after all, officials are obligated to do the best to secure public, and if sky is full of drones, different type of drones, maybe it will confuse air defense systems when, let's say, Ukrainian side will launch drones, if they will. So quite understandable measure. There will be no commercial or private drones over the Moscow region or Moscow for some time in the future without special permission. So let me continue. This is TASS News Agency's report, according to which more than 1,700 homeowners lost their houses in Belgorod region because of the artillery shelling from Ukrainian side. According to this information, more than 600 homeowners basically find some other place to live, and the rest of them will probably receive some support from officials to also deal with the issue of housing. But number is quite significant, isn't it? 1,700 homeowners, households. It's a huge number, especially if you take into account that right next to border with Ukraine, it's small villages, really. And according to this information, many villages probably are now entirely or almost entirely empty, and it's, as I said, understandable, because Zelensky's Nazi regime is shelling Belgorod region almost on daily basis. So let me continue. This is TASS News Agency's report, according to which since the beginning of special military operation, Pentagon delivered to Zelensky's regime military weapons for $35.7 billion. That's only military equipment. If you take into account how much weapons have been delivered to Ukraine by other NATO member states, then we are probably talking about some 50 or even more $billion of worth of weapons. Well, huge number definitely, but at least for now, Zelensky's regime don't really achieve much with this weapons, isn't it? And I believe Washington will use this conflict to even more enrich military-industrial complex of the USA, and same will be done in European states, because we all understand that Ukraine is receiving some old equipment, and as a result, elites, governments of US or European states are purchasing some new weapons for their armies. So it's quite a good deal for a military industrial complex in Europe and in USA. They are getting richer and richer with this conflict in Ukraine by by enormous amount of money. So and this topic is continuation basically, because TASS news agency is reporting that EU member states decide to spend yet another billion euro to buy some ammunition for Zelensky's regime. Well, as I just said, man, this will never end until, or this will end only when Ukrainian conflict will end, because these corrupt government officials and military-industrial complex are making tons of money, man, and they will continue to do so. And that's one of the reasons, maybe not the main reason, but definitely one of the reasons why you're not gonna find any government in Europe except Hungary and Serbia that will advocate for peace. Vatican, we can also mention Vatican, because formally Vatican is not part of Italy, it's independent state, let's say. So yes, Hungary, Serbia and Vatican, they are for peace, and the rest of them, including North American states, are all for war and continuation of bloodshed and destruction, because they are making huge amounts of money, man. Let me continue. This is RIA Novosti's report, according to which units of Ahmad Special Forces of South grouping did manage to move forward, advance up to 1500 meters, which is and this happened in Kremlin direction in LPR, which is quite significant. But yet again, when it comes to frontline, I believe we're gonna see big activization of Russian side once situation with Bakhmut will finally will be formalized, let's say, because we all know that this battle has already won by Russia, and after this anticipated by many, counteroffensive for Zelensky's regime will fail. After that, we will probably see truly big activization of Russian forces in many directions, but right now it's kind of still stalemate. And yes, on occasions, in some separate episodes, Russian sides are conducting quite serious offensive operations, but if we are taking in account entire front line, it's a stalemate basically. And Russian side is waiting for appropriate time to conduct offensive operations. That's how I read it anyway, this big picture. Let me continue. And yes, yet again, Ukrainian terrorism. It's almost, as I said, man, quite some time ago, Ukrainian terrorism is becoming a part of daily life nowadays. And we have statement from governor of Rostov region. According to him, drone did strike oil refinery in Rostov region. And we also have a statement from Krasnodarsk region. Governor of Krasnodarsk region also reported that oil refinery was also hit there. So yet again, as I said, man, this kind of attacks from Zelensky's regime is becoming daily routine. Unfortunately. Let me continue. This is Kommersant news papers report, according to which and few news about some economical development. So this newspaper is writing about possibility that if US will default, and I don't believe, by the way, that US will default, but if it will happen, then US may lose up to 6.1% of its GDP if default will be quite long, for quite a long period of time. But yet again, I don't think US will default. Eventually, US officials will definitely, Congress and the Senate, whoever is in obligated to make such decisions, they will make decision to increase ceiling of debt, and then US will start printing dollars again, and they will borrow even more money, and eventually they will somehow manage current crisis without defaulting, because default will just, I don't know, it will probably destroy US economy, and we're not going to talk about 6% in that case. We may see some double digit numbers in that case. And the head of FRS said that, yet again, it's news from US. Head of FRS, Federal Reserve System, said that US banking sector is stable and nothing to panic for. Well, I don't know, man. We are receiving information that almost on daily basis now, quite big names in US banking systems are getting in trouble. So to be honest, even though I was not really pessimistic about banking system of US, but because so many news are coming that this bank has a problem, that bank has a problem, that you are starting to think that maybe US banking system truly is in trouble, and probably not just me alone are thinking this way, and that's why head of FRS is coming out and trying to calm down everybody, and he's saying that banking system is in good shape. Well, it's up to, I don't know if we can trust any statements from any US officials. If I was citizen of US, I will definitely and if I had savings, then I will definitely pull off all my money from banking accounts, and I will invest in gold, silver, or some other more safe commodity, because I don't know, man. It's truly hard nowadays to trust US banks, Western banks in general, really. So yes, this is it for now. Let me check once again media outlets. Maybe some breaking news are coming now. So no. So I did share with you all the main news that was making headlines in Russian media outlets. I hope you will find this video interesting. If some extreme developments, of course I will make second update for YouTube, like I did yesterday. But if not, then second update will be late afternoon for a Patreon page. This is it for now. If you did like this video, please hit that like button, leave some commentary about any topic you like, share links to my videos or my page with your friends on Facebook, Twitter, Telegram, or any other channel that you are active on. And if you think this channel is interesting, has some potential and deserves to exist, then please consider to support with small donations through PayPal, buy me a coffee or by subscribing to my Patreon page. I will be very grateful for your support and help. This is it for now. Have a nice day, great day, and take care.